They never made the covers of international magazines. They weren't household names outside the borders of Hong Kong or mainland China. But behind every Bruce Lee, every Jackie Chan, every Jet Li, there were others. Shadow warriors, stunt masters, innovators. Their names were barely whispered, yet their kicks, their flips, their choreography, it shaped cinema forever. Welcome to a world where legends remained in the shadows. This is the story of the unsung heroes of Kung Fu cinema, the forgotten titans who changed the course of action filmmaking without ever stepping fully into the spotlight. Let's begin at the heart of Kung Fu cinema, 1970s Hong Kong. This wasn't just a place or a time. It was a revolution. Studios like Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest were churning out martial arts films at lightning speed. The golden age of Kung Fu wasn't built on just one superstar, it was constructed by armies of anonymous martial artists who risked their lives, broke their bones, and choreographed history. You know Bruce Lee. You know Jackie Chan. But do you know Kar-Leung? Lau wasn't just a director. He was a master. A real martial artist trained in Hung Gar style under his father, Lau Cham. He choreographed fight scenes not for show, but as a tribute to the philosophy of martial arts. Every motion had meaning. Every block told a story. He brought elegance to violence, intelligence to combat. And yet, outside of hardcore Kung Fu circles, his name barely registers. He gave us The 36th Chamber of Shaolin, a film that taught generations the journey of discipline. He mentored Gordon Liu, another unsung titan, who became a face of righteousness in Kung Fu epics. Yet both men, in the wider world, remain unknown. Let's go deeper. Meet Yuen Biao, a man whose choreography changed Hollywood itself. His fingerprints are on The Matrix, Kill Bill, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But his roots run deep in classic Kung Fu cinema. In the 1970s and 80s, he choreographed some of the most influential fight scenes in Eastern cinema. His work in Drunken Master helped launch Jackie Chan's global rise. His genius lay in blending storytelling with combat, turning punches into poetry. But when names are dropped in Hollywood roundtables, how often does his come up? And what about Lam Ching-ying, the quiet master of Taoist roles? He was the stoic priest in the Mr. Vampire films, blending martial arts with horror and comedy in a way no one else could. But before the vampires, he was one of Bruce Lee's personal stuntmen. He took hits that would crush other men. He trained day and night in real Kung Fu, not to impress, but because it was in his blood. His face is iconic, but his name? Forgotten by most. Then there's James Tien, a man who stood beside Bruce Lee in The Big Boss and Fist of Fury. He could have been a star, handsome, talented, athletic. But stardom is a strange thing. Sometimes it skips over the worthy. Tien became the eternal sidekick, the supporting actor whose presence anchored the leading man. Without him, those films wouldn't have had the same rhythm. Yet he remained just a name in the credits. In the brutal hierarchy of Kung Fu film sets, stuntmen were the warriors. They were paid little, treated harshly, injured constantly. But they made the magic real. One of the greatest, Mars, worked in Jackie Chan's stunt team. You've seen him 100 times, but never noticed. He took falls from rooftops. He was kicked, slammed, burned. All for the perfect shot. He was never meant to be a star. He was there to make someone else look like a god. And what about Chin Shu Ho? You've seen him in Tai Chi Master alongside Jet Li. You've seen his lightning-fast fists, his soulful eyes. But his career never soared to Jet Li's level. Timing? Politics? Luck? Who knows? But watch his performances, the fluidity, the precision, the commitment. He was every bit as good. Maybe even better. Sometimes the unsung heroes weren't on screen. Chung Yen-Yuen, part of the legendary Yuen clan, worked behind the camera as a choreographer, teacher, visionary. He helped choreograph films that defined generations. His work was quiet, uncredited sometimes, but essential. And then, the women. Oh, the women. Chang Pei-Pei was the queen of swordplay. Long before Michelle Yeoh dazzled the world, Chang was slashing her way through male-dominated cinema. Come Drink With Me wasn't just a film, it was a revolution. She had the grace of a dancer, the ferocity of a tiger. Yet her fame never crossed oceans. Not the way it should have. Angela Mao-ing, the Lady Kung Fu. She kicked harder than most men, had screen presence that burned, and played Bruce Lee's sister in Enter the Dragon. She should have been a global phenomenon. But the world wasn't ready. Hollywood wasn't ready. She faded from the spotlight. Her legend stayed behind in VHS collections and whispered discussions among martial arts fans. Kung Fu cinema was also about brotherhoods, stunt teams, training groups, families of fighters. The Seven Little Fortunes, for example, a group of opera-trained children who grew into stars. Jackie Chan was one of them. So was Sammo Hung, another unsung genius. Sammo wasn't built like your typical action hero. He was big, round, but he moved like a panther. He could outfight, outfall, out-choreograph anyone. He directed, produced, acted. He made films like Eastern Condors and Pedicab Driver, raw, powerful, emotional. He elevated the genre. But outside hardcore fans, he's often just known as that fat guy in kung fu movies. A shame. Because Sammo Hung might be one of the greatest action filmmakers of all time. The villains deserve mention too. The sneering, snarling foes who made the hero look good. Like Huang Zhangli, the king of the spinning kick. This man was a real taekwondo master. His kicks were weapons. He played the bad guy in Drunken Master, and many others. Without his menace, those heroes wouldn't have seemed half as heroic. Yet most viewers never learned his name. Even further in the shadows are the fight choreographers, many of whom never saw the spotlight. They invented entire movements, designed fight sequences in tiny hotel rooms with no safety gear, no wires, no CGI. They choreographed on instinct. They rewrote the physics of film. They turned combat into dance. Behind every scene, there was a camera operator who knew how to move with the motion. A lighting crew that knew how to silhouette a high kick. An editor who felt the rhythm of fists and feet. They weren't stars. They weren't famous. But they were essential. Kung fu cinema wouldn't be what it is without the extras, the background thugs who got punched, kicked, thrown. These men were sometimes real fighters, brought in from dojos and gyms. They'd take a dozen hits, sometimes get injured, and come back for more. Their job was to get beaten. Their pride was in how well they did it. Then there are the foreign fighters, Westerners who came to Asia and carved a small piece of the kung fu world for themselves. Bob Wall, Bolo Young, Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock. Some found minor stardom. Others faded. But all of them fought hard to earn their spot. Some unsung heroes are even more hidden, like the dubbers. Those anonymous voice actors who gave kung fu films their infamous English flair. Their voices became part of the genre's charm, exaggerated, wild, unforgettable. You may laugh at them now, but they were part of the global spread of the genre. Without them, many films wouldn't have crossed borders. Time moves on. The kung fu boom faded. Action films changed. CGI replaced stunt teams. Safety rules came in. But the spirit never died. Today, some still carry the torch. Donnie Yen emerged not just as a star but as a historian of the genre. He honored those before him. He cast legends in his films. He spoke their names. His success is also theirs. And now, you, the viewer, you can be part of their resurrection. Watch the old films. Look beyond the lead actor. Learn the names in the credits. Share their stories. Because kung fu cinema wasn't just about heroes who won on screen, it was about real heroes who sacrificed off-screen. These were the warriors who didn't need fame. Their reward was the art, the mastery, the legacy. The unsung heroes of kung fu cinema didn't fight for glory. They fought for honor. And now, their time has come. Let the world remember. And still, the legacy continues to echo. In every dojo where a kid throws their first punch, in every old-school martial arts VHS collection stored in a dusty cabinet, in every quiet evening where a father introduces his son to an old Gordon Liu film, the spirit of the unsung warriors breathes on. But their stories don't end in the 70s or 80s. No. Kung fu cinema evolved. And the unsung evolved with it. Let's talk about the digital age, a time when traditional kung fu cinema began to fade from mainstream attention, replaced by big-budget superhero flicks and CGI-heavy action. Yet, even here, unsung legends rose, holding the torch of real martial arts. One of those figures is Ken Lo, a name few know, yet a man whose showdown with Jackie Chan in Drunken Master 2 is considered one of the finest hand-to-hand fight scenes in cinema history. A Muay Thai fighter with explosive speed and unmatched footwork, Ken Lo wasn't meant to be a movie star. He was Jackie's bodyguard. But talent cannot be hidden forever. That final fight? Pure art. And he trained for months, taking hit after hit to deliver that cinematic masterpiece. Today, his name might not echo through pop culture, but real martial arts fans, they know. And they respect. Then there's Colin Cho, also known as Unsung. He stood toe-to-toe with Jet Li in The Forbidden Kingdom and played Seraph in The Matrix sequels. Quiet, skilled, graceful, Colin's on-screen movement was a symphony of discipline. And yet, ask a casual viewer his name, and they'll pause. That's the curse of the unsung. You create magic, and still vanish behind the curtain. And let's not forget Wu Jing, a modern martial artist turned director, whose dedication to real physical action brought back that old-school energy. His film, Wolf Warrior, sparked a nationalist action boom in China. But before that, he was a quietly brilliant performer in forgotten martial arts series. His kicks were textbook perfection. His timing, flawless. And though he's now gaining recognition, many still overlook the years he spent in the shadows. Or Andy On, an American-born actor who had to earn respect in the brutal Hong Kong action world. He trained under the same painful systems. Took the same risks. He didn't have the luck of being born into the system, but he fought his way into it. And in films like New Police Story, he proved he belonged. In modern cinema, another name rises quietly, Max Zhang, also known as Zhang Jin. You saw him in Ip Man 3, facing off against Donnie Yen. Graceful. Sharp. Deadly. Trained in wushu, he brings back that fluidity we used to see in the Golden Age. He doesn't crave the spotlight. He craves excellence. But perhaps the most touching stories are of the forgotten veterans. The ones still alive today, quietly teaching in small schools, mentoring kids, keeping the discipline alive. They don't have YouTube channels. They don't care about TikTok. They just pass on the art, one form, one kata, one philosophy at a time. Some live in financial hardship. Others are barely recognized even in their hometowns. But ask them if they regret their life, and they'll tell you, no, because in martial arts, glory isn't the goal. Mastery is. Let's talk about Lo Mang, the muscular hero from Shaw Brothers films like Five Deadly Venoms. He was the Toad, invincible, powerful, charismatic. And yet, his name is a whisper in Western ears. But for fans, his presence was unforgettable. His forms were powerful yet poetic. You could see his soul in every movement. Or Philip Kwok, the lizard in the same film. Agile, lethal, creative. After his acting peak, he went on to choreograph for international films, including John Woo's Hard Boiled. Again, not a name people throw around at parties. But without Philip Kwok, much of Hong Kong's most explosive choreography would never exist. The irony is, the more real these fighters were, the less fame they got. Because in cinema, charisma often beats discipline. And Kung Fu is all about discipline. There's something tragic about that. But also something noble. Let's not forget the comedic warriors, either. Those who brought joy through pain. Like Yuen Biao, the third musketeer alongside Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. He flew through the air like he had wings. His acrobatics defied logic. He was lightning in human form. He carried films like Prodigal Son and Knockabout with fierce energy. But somehow, he never reached the global fame his brothers did. Still, he never stopped giving his all. And even now, in the digital content age, a new generation is quietly rising: YouTube martial artists, indie filmmakers, TikTok creators who study the classics, mimic the greats, and bring old Kung Fu spirit to new formats. They may never walk red carpets. But their reverence, their technique, their fire, it keeps the lineage alive. One thing unites all these heroes, past and present: humility. None of them begged for awards. None demanded the spotlight. Their mission was always the same: to preserve the spirit of martial arts. To honor their teachers. To master their bodies. To entertain and educate. That's the essence of Kung Fu cinema. Beneath the flying fists and smashing kicks is a code: respect, honor, growth. The unsung heroes lived that code. They didn't do it for likes, or contracts, or interviews. They did it because they believed. Believed in the power of martial arts to change lives. Believed in stories told not through dialogue, but through movement. Believed in showing, not telling. And now, in this era of endless content and fleeting fame, their example matters more than ever. Because these unsung warriors remind us, greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes, it walks softly. Sometimes, it takes a punch. Sometimes, it kicks harder than anyone else, then fades into the background. But it always leaves a mark. So next time you watch an old Kung Fu film, don't just cheer for the hero. Watch the guy he's fighting. Watch the way he falls. Watch the timing, the rhythm, the beauty and the brutality. That's where the unsung warriors live. That's where their legacy breathes. And in remembering them, truly remembering, we bring them the glory they never asked for, but always deserved. Let their names echo now. Kar-Leung, Lam Ching-ying, Gordon Liu, Angela Mao, Huang Jiangli, Mars, Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao, Ken Lo, Colin Cho, Max Zhang, Yuan Wuping, Chang Pei, Lo Mang, Philip Kwok, Donnie Yen, Wu Jing, Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton, Chin Shu Ho, James Tien, and thousands more whose names history forgot, but whose fists, kicks, flips, and falls shaped the world. This was for them. For the masters who never quit. For the warriors behind the curtain. For the unsung heroes of Kung Fu cinema. Let the world finally hear their roar.